Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we got the newest guide, at least of this recording, in it. We have Puch with us, and we have our two guests. We have Rick and Carl, the zombies, with us as well. As always, I want to go over these items here, optional items, and also a conquest-oriented build, and of course actives a little bit later or throughout. So first, boots, Shoes of Magi versus Shoes of Focus for Puch. The thing with Puch, if you don't know already, he has sort of like a built-in cooldown reduction, mostly on his one. So if you don't know what it is, pretty much you use your one, boom, goes on cooldown, you walk over a zombie or two, and then the cooldown just goes away. Of course, I do have Chronos Pendant, so the cooldown's a little skewed on that demonstration there, but you get the point. So I kind of prefer Shoes of Magi, just for a little bit bigger spike of magical power in that sense. Next, a lifesteal item. You can kind of rearrange this in orders that you feel more fit. So just keep that in mind. Lifesteal item on Puch, I feel it's almost necessary because he has no escapes outside of actives. Of course, you can do actives like Combat Blink, some type of Aegis or Purification Beads, but it's not always guaranteed, and they have cooldowns. So having some type of sustain on Puch is pretty nice, especially in team fights with your ultimate. You might get focused down or whatever the case may be. A huge spike of magical power and a lot of lifesteal and a really great passive. So the more they hurt you, the more damage you're going to deal. That's how the Bancroft's passive works, if you don't know. Next, a cooldown item. I feel like cooldown items on mages are almost pretty much everybody uses them. Pretty nice to have. I prefer Chronos Pendant over Breastplate of Valor. Breastplate is nice if you have the Shoes of Magi. If you go with like the cooldown reduction boots and Breastplate of Valor, at least in the early stages of the game, you're going to have like 0 magical power. You do like no damage. But sometimes you may need Breastplate just to not be so squishy against a lot of physical targets that you're in your situation. So keep that in mind. A lot of these items and Smite in general is all situational on which you pick up. Next, Obsidian Shard versus Spear of Magus. We don't really include Voidstone in this battle because reasons. Spear of Magus versus Obsidian Shard. I personally prefer Obsidian Shard on Puch, but Spear of Magus is really good if you have multiple magical or basically multiple mages on your team that could benefit from the Spear of Magus passive. The passive being you damage enemies with your abilities. They have their magical protections reduced. It has 2 stacks, so it's pretty easy to stack those 2 as being Puch. So that way your other mages can deal more damage on the same targets, ultimately being better. But if you're the only mage around on your team, Obsidian Shard may be better for you to pick up. It's fairly cheap as well. Next, Gem of Isolation. Gem of Isolation is if you really want to be a bad person, and in better words, because Puch already has built-in slows, being his 40% slow, and also his slow on his ultimate can stack up to 56%, which that is ridiculous. And also keep in mind, this is, as far as this recording, this is the debut, the launch of Puch, so some of these things can change. But for the time being, he has enough slows already, but if you really want to just make your target walk backwards, he's going so slow, Gem of Isolation is the item for you, also giving you some health and mana to be a little bit more beefier. But if you don't feel like that is necessary, you can replace that with an item of your wishing. It could be, you can go 2 penetration items. You can go into a stacking item. Stacking items kind of vary depending on what game mode you're in, obviously, or Soul Reaver to do a lot more damage, especially on your burst ability or in your burst chain combos between your 1 and 3 and 2. Actually, his first 3 abilities are all burst, so you can do that as well. And of course, Ride to Hoodie just to finish off your magical power cap and end up with something like this: 631 magical power at level 20. So that is a lot. Random frame drops, don't mind that, people. Actives, I already kind of mentioned that as well. You probably want to have some type of escape active as Puch, like Beads, Combat Blink, because he has no built-in escapes. So Conquest real quick. If you already watched my video on the Season 2 meta for mid lane, you kind of already have a general idea of the meta for that. Pretty much starter items. Oh, I forgot. I haven't tested out Soulstone. So I don't have an honest opinion of Soulstone, if you're to ask me right now. I don't know how that really is. But for the time being, for Prick Shroud is a pretty basic standard build to go into. The recommended, why is boots there? But so be for Prick Shroud, tier 1 lost artifact, or optional second item is, why is there no life steal in here? Okay, whatever. Would be to go into the tier 1 tiny trinket. Kind of depends, up to you, but typically lost artifact is the one to go with. Go into boots of your choosing, personal preference. Then from this point on, you can either go back and finish it into Chronos Pendants. Doom Orb's really good if you know you're going to win, you know you're going to have no problem, and you're not going to die. Really strong item. But Chronos Pendants is the one you typically go back. Or after boots, you can go straight into a stacking item like Warlock Sash or Bookatoth, whichever one you prefer. Then you will eventually choose which one you want to finish. Chronos Pendant. Dex, you have no pendant items. A pin item of your choosing. Like I said, it's situational. Multiple mages on your team, Spirit Magus, if not, Obsidian Shard. That is the way to go with that. Then from here, you can go to like a lifesteal item. Like I said, Vanguard sounds pretty good. Or if you're fighting against healers, keep that in mind. If you're fighting against healers or high health regeneration gods like Shock, Vamana, Hercules, Divine Ruin is a better optional item for that case. And then you go back and sell that, your starter item, and pick a Raza Hoodoo. That's how pretty much Conquest goes. Pretty basic. He was just shaking his head. Puch is awesome. I love this guy. So I hope that sheds some light on what items to pick up for Puch for different scenarios. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.